Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Carroll O'Connor really hated him more than anyone. Carroll O'Connor was born John Carroll O'Connor on August 2nd, 1924 in the Bronx, New York. He grew up in an Irish-American family that loved learning, telling stories, and keeping traditions. His early life was shaped by the money problems of the Great Depression, times that taught him a lot about different classes, hard times, and the different ways people see the world. Ideas he later brought so clearly into his acting jobs. After going to Wake Forest University and later the University of Montana, O'Connor's schoolwork was briefly stopped by his time in the United States Merchant Marine during World War, an important time that taught him about being tough, having discipline, and understanding how people behaved. After the war, O'Connor went back to school, finally getting a degree in English. His love for books, language, and how people express themselves led him to try teaching before he found his real love, acting. In the 1950s, he moved far away to Ireland, where he studied at the University College Dublin. This time in another country gave him a deep love for theatre and acting, and he began appearing in stage shows, getting better at his skills, and getting ready for the long career that was waiting for him. O'Connor finally made his way back to the United States, where he worked very hard in the 1960s to make himself known in the entertainment business. He appeared in guest parts on several television shows and in smaller parts in Hollywood movies, including memorable performances in Cleopatra, 1963, What Did You Do in the War, Daddy, 1966, and Point Blank, 1967. These parts showed his ability, as he could easily move between serious dramatic roles and lighter funny characters. However, even with his talent, it wasn't until the 1970s that O'Connor got the role that would define his career and lift him into television history. That role, of course, was Archie Bunker in the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family, 1971 to 1979. Archie Bunker was a working-class man from Queens, a character who showed the prejudices, frustrations, and generation gaps of American society at the time. While many actors might have stayed away from playing a character with such controversial views, O'Connor took on the challenge. He gave Archie depth, complexity, and even moments of weakness, making sure the character was never a simple cartoon. Instead, O'Connor's performance turned Archie into a mirror, showing America's struggles with race, gender roles, politics, and cultural change. Viewers might have disagreed with Archie's views, but they knew him, understood him, and often laughed with him as much as they laughed at him. All in the Family became a cultural hit, breaking television barriers by openly talking about topics like racism, women's rights, the Vietnam War, and money inequality, subjects that had rarely, if ever, been discussed on primetime television. Connor's work on the show earned him 4 Primetime Emmy Awards, 4 Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series, securing his place among television's greatest performers. He played the role of Archie again in the spin-off series Archie Bunker's Place 1979 to 1983, further extending his legacy and influence. But O'Connor was not defined only by Archie Bunker. In the late 1980s and 1990s, he changed himself with another famous role, this time as the caring, thoughtful Chief Bill Gillespie in the television version of In the Heat of the Night, 1988 to 1995. Very different from Archie, Gillespie was a character who changed with time, learning, growing, and adapting to the challenges of racial tension and crime in a small Mississippi town. O'Connor also worked as a producer and writer on the series, proving his skill went beyond acting and into storytelling itself. His creative vision helped In the Heat of the Night become a long-running success that showed his range as both a performer and a leader in the business. In 1962, while Carroll O'Connor was in Rome working on the epic historical film Cleopatra, a production that was well known for its fancy sets, huge budget problems, and the pressure of filming alongside legends like Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, O'Connor and his wife, Nancy Fields. O'Connor made a very personal and life-changing decision They adopted a 6-year-old baby boy, naming him Hugh, a deeply meaningful choice that honored O'Connor's own brother, who had sadly passed away just a year earlier. This act of adoption not only showed the couple's kindness and desire to give a loving home to a child in need, but also showed O'Connor's deep commitment to family, even during the chaos and demands of an international film production. The adoption marked a turning point in O'Connor's personal life, mixing joy and remembrance as he brought into his home a child whose very name carried the memory of a loved one lost too soon. As Hugh grew up, he was exposed to the world of television and film through his father's career. At the age of 17, he took on a small but meaningful role on the set of Archie Bunker's Place, working as a messenger. This job, though seemingly small, gave Hugh the chance to be actively involved in the environment that had shaped much of his father's life and career. For O'Connor, who was by this time a television icon, it was a way to share both the excitement and responsibility of a professional set with his son, building not just family bonds, but also teaching a sense of work ethic and familiarity with the entertainment industry. Eventually, O'Connor even created the character of Officer Lonnie Jameson on In the Heat of the Night, specifically for Hugh, a gesture that went beyond just career help. It was a heartfelt attempt to give his son a space to express himself creatively and professionally under the protective guidance of a father who understood the challenges and opportunities of the acting world. This act showed O'Connor's lasting devotion as a parent and mentor, mixing his personal and professional life in a rare and touching way. Tragically, on March 28, 1995, O'Connor's son, Hugh, died by suicide after a long and painful struggle with drug addiction. This devastating loss deeply affected O'Connor both as a father and as a public figure. The pain of losing a child is unmeasurable, and for O'Connor it became a reason for advocacy and public service. In the aftermath of Hugh's death, O'Connor channeled his grief into meaningful action, appearing in public service announcements for the Partnership for a Drug-Free America. He used his platform, fame, and personal experience to educate the public about the dangers of drug abuse and the human cost of addiction, trying to prevent other families from going through the heartbreak he had experienced. For the remainder of his life, O'Connor dedicated himself to raising awareness about drug addiction, speaking openly about the struggles faced by his son, and advocating for support, understanding, and intervention for those suffering from substance abuse. This commitment showed a remarkable strength and a transformation of personal tragedy into a lifelong mission to help others, cementing O'Connor's legacy, not only as an iconic actor, but also as a devoted father and caring advocate. Carroll O'Connor, the legendary actor best known for his famous role as Archie Bunker on All in the Family, was never one to hold back his words when it came to people he disliked. And his feelings toward Rob Reiner, who played his son, Michael Meathead Stivic on the show, were no different. In interviews and private conversations, O'Connor did not shy away from expressing his hate, once saying bluntly, "I've never hated anyone as much as I hated Rob Reiner." This was not a quick annoyance or a short clash of personalities. It was a deep and ongoing hatred that O'Connor admitted colored his experience on the show for years. Unlike typical tensions that might happen on a television set, their conflict was deeply personal, rooted in basic differences in personality, ego, and approach to acting. Quote, "Connor felt that Reiner's presence and attitude constantly undermined the team spirit that was supposed to define the cast." According to O'Connor, part of the problem was Reiner's approach to his role. He explained, "Rob always thought he was smarter than everyone else, that he had some moral high ground just because he played the liberal son." O'Connor, who was very proud of his own craft and deeply invested in thoroughness of his performance, got angry at Reiner's self-confidence. To O'Connor, it wasn't just Reiner's acting choices. It was the feeling of superiority he carried around on set, the hidden criticism he projected, and the way he challenged O'Connor's own authority and interpretation of Archie Bunker. O'Connor often described Reiner as arrogant and unbearable, insisting that his co-star's behavior went beyond normal artistic differences into territory that felt deliberately provocative and disrespectful. He saw Reiner as someone who not only questioned his professionalism, but also threatened the dynamics of the cast and crew, creating a tension that was impossible to ignore. O'Connor's hatred was also fueled by the personal dimension of their relationship, or rather the lack of it. While some actors develop close bonds with their co-stars, sharing jokes, personal stories, and mutual support, O'Connor found Reiner distant and condescending. He remembered, "There was never a moment when I felt like Rob was my friend. He was always out to prove something, always competing for attention in ways I found exhausting." In essence, O'Connor felt isolated, constantly having to defend not just his character, but also his own professional worth against Reiner's perceived challenges. Their interactions on set, he said, were tense, awkward, and often downright hostile, with Reiner's behavior making worse the frustration of long shooting days and creative disagreements. Yet, it was not just personal dislike that fueled O'Connor's hatred. There was also a philosophical clash. Archie Bunker was in many ways a complex figure whose details required O'Connor's careful interpretation. Reiner, quote, "S approach to his own character, meanwhile, leaned heavily on satire and ideological assertion, which O'Connor felt simplified the father-son conflict into a constant moral lecture. He once remarked, "It wasn't about acting. It was about him trying to teach me Allison every day, about liberal versus conservative, right versus wrong. I'm an actor, not a preacher." This ideological friction made their scenes particularly challenging, as O'Connor felt he had to constantly navigate Reiner's impulses while staying true to the essence of Archie. Despite the intensity of these feelings, O'Connor rarely allowed them to erupt on camera. His professionalism meant that while he hated Reiner personally, he made sure that the tension added to the realness of their scenes rather than took away from them. Ironically, O'Connor's hatred may have contributed to the dramatic chemistry that made Archie and Michael's interactions so compelling for audiences, though O'Connor himself would likely have dismissed this as a minor consolation. In private, however, he never softened his opinion, maintaining to the end of his life that his dislike for Reiner was unmatched. Quote, "For worked with many people I couldn't stand, but Rob topped them all more than anyone ever." In the end, Carroll O'Connor's hatred for Rob Reiner was emblematic of a complex, often contradictory personality. A man who was passionate about his craft, fiercely protective of his artistic integrity, and unafraid to confront those he found unbearable. While the public saw the friendly, sometimes grouchy Archie Bunker behind the scenes, O'Connor's relationship with Reiner revealed a deep personal friction that shaped much of his experience on All in the Family. This story serves as a reminder that legendary collaborations on screen can hide real-life tensions that are just as dramatic, even if less visible, than the scripted conflicts audiences love. Carroll O'Connor, the legendary actor best known for his famous portrayal of Archie Bunker on All in the Family, passed away at the age of 76 on June 21, 2001. His death happened in Culver City, California, a city closely tied to the entertainment industry, and one that had been central to much of O'Connor's career. The immediate cause of his death was a heart attack, a tragic event that was caused by long-standing complications from diabetes, a condition he had battled for years. Diabetes, known for its severe impact on heart health, likely weakened O'Connor's heart over time, making him vulnerable to a fatal heart event. His passing marked the end of an era in American television, as O'Connor had been a towering presence on screen, bringing depth, humor, and social commentary to the character of Archie Bunker, a role that had become both a cultural touchstone and a symbol of the complexities of working-class life in America. Following his death, O'Connor's body was buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, a prestigious resting place in Los Angeles, known for being the final home to many Hollywood stars. The choice of Westwood reflected both O'Connor's stature in the entertainment world and the respect he commanded among his peers. In a deeply personal and touching tribute, a marker honoring his son Hugh was also placed on O'Connor's gravestone. This gesture showed the profound bond between father and son, as Hugh had been a central figure in O'Connor's life, adopted during a significant period in the actor's personal journey. The marker served not only as a memorial to Hugh, but also as a symbol of O'Connor's devotion to family, highlighting the ways in which his personal life was intertwined with his public persona. The gravestone marked by both his own legacy and the remembrance of his son stands as a lasting monument to O'Connor's life, career, and the enduring love he held for his family.